Welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Emily,
And my name is Andrew.
and today we're going to talk about stuff
And things.
and things. Indeed, how about
Stuff and
that?
things.
Yes, that is just our thing to talk about stuff.
And things. I think you need to say it in a Midwestern accent, maybe even a Southern accent, because you've been in the South as of late.
I have. I was in Nashville this weekend again to see the Hold Steady again and do more fun little music things.
See, I'm not letting you off the hook that easy though. You got to say it in a Southern accent.
Oh man. Yeah, I went down to Nashville and I recorded with Aaron Deathridge at the East Side Manor. Did a little music video for him. Real cool place, real big place. They got an echo chamber in the basement, real neat. A real deal plate reverb. I'm done. So yeah,
I just wanted you to say stuff and things. That's all I was requesting. But
the
all
thing
right.
is, like, those are weird words to say with an accent. You might say thangs, stuff, thangs,
Yeah.
stuff, and
All
things.
that said, is it weird that when you said echo chamber, all I thought was politics?
Oh Lord. It's like, oh, in all my studios, I've never seen an echo chamber like that before. So that was pretty neat.
Well, as we've previously discussed, I haven't been in a studio, so sad face. I need to fix that.
Yeah, the East Side Manor is wild. Apparently, the guy who built it made a bunch of money off of Apple stocks in the 80s and built it's like I was walking down like this dirt road in East Nashville, gravel road, I mean. And because Aaron's like, it's at the end of the gravel road and past the bamboo. And then there's just like this mansion. I'm like, I feel like I might be trespassing. But it was really
Right.
cool. I'll post a link to that video when it exists. Just a little instrumental thing. And then Michelle Sullivan, the ringleader of the All Night Boys, came and picked me up, and we did another little video for one of her songs at a different studio. So good
Good
times. And we saw
times.
the whole steady, met some really cool people. Andrew, later I got to tell you about one particular person I met because I think you're going to be impressed since you like this thing called, quotes, grunge.
Oh, wait, no, you have to tell me now.
Okay, well, her name is Mimi, and her brother is Jason, who you may recognize as one of the gentlemen on the cover of the album Bleach.
Oh,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, her brother was in Nirvana and Soundgarden. He was the guy who got kicked out of Nirvana, and he was the guy who got kicked out of Soundgarden, and then he became a Green Beret.
Yeah. Oh shoot. I can't. I'm blanking on his. Is it Jason
Everman.
Everman?
Everman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That took me a second. Brain's still firing
yeah.
on half my
So she and I
cylinders.
talked about
Wait,
guitars
so
half the
you
weekend, and like
wait. So you met Jason Everman's
yeah.
sister? Was
Actually,
Jason
you met
there?
her too. No, he wasn't there. You met her too. She was at the whole study show. She was the ICU nurse who helped that guy who fainted.
Oh, that was her.
Yeah, she's kind of
Oh my
like
goodness.
a true American badass.
A true American hero.
No, she was so funny. Yeah, I love those whole study shows because you meet the greatest people. But I also got to meet.
That is a trip.
Yeah, but outside of the whole study, I also got to meet and hang out with Grant and Karen from Big Ear at their place.
I'm so jealous. They seem like the sweetest people on the
Oh
planet, and I
my
really
gosh.
want to meet them.
The best. The best. We'll have to have them on the show because like they got good stories and they're good at telling them. But
Grant, Karen, if you're listening to this, please visit me. I'm isolated in this sad, cold, rainy world called Seattle.
or you just have to get down to Nashville. Summer NAMM next year maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. There may or may not be early workings of some sort of a plan for
Yeah.
that. I don't know. We'll have
Maybe.
to wait and see.
Yeah, but they were great. I got to meet their cat Albert, one of the two namesakes of their pedal that's going to be released in the fall, the Albie. I got to play
Albie,
it.
and how was it?
It's an 80s dream machine. Like if you like 80s new wave, that kind of like jangly JC 120 sound,
You
phasers,
already
reverb.
have a JC though.
I do, but it was really cool when Grant was talking to me about. So it's 8 presets, and then you can just control the mix, and it gets to 50% wet because that's what old JC 120s were like. So each algorithm is based off of like a specific sound, and they're all really cool. Like there were some I liked more than others. He's going to change the numbers on me, so it doesn't really matter if I tell you which ones they are, if I could remember them. But it's just like when you're playing those like fun, like little sustained picking things, nothing like too staccato or nothing. It's just like good ambience, and I I feel like it's going to live on my board, like especially my Sunday Crush board because it's just perfect for that. I was so impressed with it. And there are some secrets in it too. One thing that he showed me was when it powers on, the lights it cycles through the lights in a really fun way. It's really cute.
So basically, like it's a really badass Dimension C.
No. It's kind of like that with that you just have the settings.
Right,
Um
with the buttons.
yeah, but they're not all chorus. Some are just like some are chorus or phaser things, like a phaser with a reverb and a compressor and stuff like that,
Oh.
or a little slapback
Okay, so it
delay.
really steps out of the box.
Yes, it is. It's really cool.
Wait, I feel like that's the ultimate like praise and worship
I mean,
pedal.
it will do very well there, I'm sure.
Especially with a lot of folks that don't know what they're doing but have $10,000 boards. Oh, shots fired.
Oh, there's a lot of those, and $10,000 is not even
Yeah.
really much of an overstatement. It feels like.
No, only if you are a peasant and only have one
Oh my
clon.
gosh, yeah, but
I saw someone posting a photo of their like little like mid-sized pedal board with two like original
why?
clones on it.
Why?
I was like,
Why?
what? That's like $4,000 and two overdrive pedals. For
That could
what
be 8
purpose?
grand in overdrive pedals depending on where they bought them.
Right, right. So I don't know. More power to them. I mean, I guess they've got that kind of money laying around, and oh well.
Oh, yikes.
Something
Yeah,
something taxation, something something theft. I don't know.
I don't know.
So
Yikes. But one of the things that I really want to talk about is this cat. It's not their cat though. Their cat Albert was great. This is a black stray that they've first named Puma, then named Poo Poo, and now it's Poo Face. And I think I posted a picture on my personal Instagram. This cat looks like a poorly drawn cat. Like he doesn't look real. He's just mangy. His tail is like so long and skinny. His back legs seem like disproportionately long. He has the best grumpy old man face. But like this cat immediately just like jumped on my lap and was like wanting pets. Just a complete sweetie. So I think they're trying to find someone who might be willing to adopt it. So if you're in Nashville and you want the craziest, snuggliest cat I've ever met in my life, I can put you in touch and maybe you can adopt Pooh Face.
well, the way I feel about my kitties this week is I could use a replacement. Having just one of those weeks.
Yikes. What happened?
Let's see here. So Percy in particular, so the older of the two cats, he's been getting a little like not aggressive because that's not the right term, but he's been pushing his weight around, which also sounds like a fat joke, but he is also kind of a fat cat. It's kind of adorable. But no, yeah. So he's been showing up like crawling into bed at like early and earlier times, asking for breakfast, and then getting kind of upset when we try to push him off the bed, and he like took a pretty decent love nip at like Melissa's eyebrow the
Oh,
other day.
did it hurt? Did it leave
I
a
was like,
mark?
oh heck no. No, I don't think left a mark, but you know when you're like no coffee, you're just laying there like trying to like it's a weekend, like I'm just kind of enjoying the last. Ah, what
Yeah,
the
no kidding.
heck?
And like it's one thing where it's like your hands or your arm, but like your face, you're like, absolutely not.
Yeah, so that was one of those like I got picked up the cat and I didn't throw the cat, but there was definitely some
You
sliding
removed
going
it
on
from
the
the bed
hardwood
in an
floor when
appropriately
the cat
forceful
landed.
way. They're cats, they're fine.
I removed it from the premises in a
I mean,
appropriately
you push
forceful
an animal
way,
off surfaces sometimes, like you're not yeah.
like
God.
balconies. Totally.
Well, maybe not, maybe not.
So I've been very upset. It reminds me of there's a John Mulaney stand up where he talks about having to feed his like his dog habits, and the dog trainer was telling them that if they don't, they need to eat dinner first
Yeah, maybe
to
that's what
prove
Pop I mean, sorry,
dominance.
maybe that's what the other
And
dog is the cat. Oh my lord.
and when John Mulaney's like, well, I don't eat dinner at 4:30. I'm not in a retirement home or something like that. And they're like, well, maybe you just like pretend to eat out of a bowl. And so the whole spiel was about like just eating fake food out of a bowl to try and prove to his dog Petunia that John was the boss. It was a pretty funny. I thought it was funny. It's one of my favorite bits of
Nice. Well, I
comedy
can
that's
tell because
currently
you've
on
quoted it
Netflix right
several
now.
times on this podcast.
That one's really good, and I've quoted
Mhm.
Jim Gaffigan a couple of times, and I'm going to say that I'm just gonna say this, and you can judge me however you want, but
What's
I
wrong with
kind of like
liking Dave
Dave Chappelle,
Chappelle?
so
He's Ohio dude. Yeah.
oh yeah, he is. Now, some people don't appreciate the several layers of sardonic,
You know,
deeply cutting humor.
I've
And I
yeah.
understand how it can be misconstrued, and I also understand that there's some things that I mean, obviously things get said that aren't really super cool, but I don't know. I have my own take on his
Well,
comedy, and I don't totally
I mean,
hate it.
I've liked
I
his
actually kind of
comedy. I
like it.
haven't seen the
So,
special that people are, have seemed to have mixed emotions about. But I was in Nashville seeing Tracy Morgan when he made that joke that he'd rather have his son like take a knife than take a dick. And that one,
was that
he got in trouble
Chappelle
for that
or
one. No, that was Tracy Morgan.
okay?
Wow. Woof.
Well,
That was that did not. Yeah. I remember I went with my friend and we kind of looked at each other and we're like, oh no.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that maybe ties into a little bit of our topic today in terms of what we're gonna get into.
But first,
But first,
we gotta thank our sponsors because we
sponsors.
love them.
Well, that's a strong term. Like, okay. I love our sponsors. They're okay, I guess.
So first, we always have Jennings first. It seems
Well, yeah, the dude's
first, first
incredible.
sponsors first.
First sponsors first. Our first sponsor of the show is Jennings Guitars, who makes wonderful guitars made in the USA at wonderful prices. If you haven't looked at their website, I don't know what you're doing. So go to www.jenningsguitars.com. But in all seriousness, radio voice aside, Chad does incredible guitars at great prices, and I cannot wait for mine to arrive.
I can't wait for it either.
Um, I'm like, I legitimately was like, so this morning was my first morning of starting the early shift in the new job, and so I did the whole thing where I was having like stress dreams, and like the one non-stress dream I had was about unboxing the guitar.
Oh yes.
I did like the whole like waking up every 45 minutes to an hour kind of a thing all
Mhm.
night because like I have to be up at whatever time. I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
It yeah, it was just I woke up the one time like, oh wait, I don't have it. That felt so real. I feel so cheated. So I can't wait.
Yeah, I had so many weird stress dreams. I had to take a sick day because I got back from the show, and I think just like the lack of sleep, it made me more susceptible, and I was not well. I slept from like 6 p.m. last night till 1 p.m. today, and I had
Holy
yeah,
smokes.
I'm okay.
That's 19 hours.
My cat was there the whole time, dude. I kept waking up, and she was just at my feet. And now she's biting me because I'm trying to get her to stop scratching the scratching post on the microphone. Oh, I'm
Aw.
sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you got it. You got it. All right, she's over it. Um, yeah. And I just had such weird dreams, including one of them was like we were originally going to record this at like 3:30, and I had a dream that I woke up and it was 9:30, which is exactly the time it is now. So that was my weirdest stress dream. But to thank our other sponsor, Spruce Effects, the builder of the Mount Hood Fuzz, the official fuzz of the Get Offset podcast. We actually are finally down, like, we had a surge in sales and we're down to our last one.
Wait, our
Our
last
last
one?
one, yeah.
I feel like I've been living under a rock. I feel like I should have known that.
Yeah. No, it's legit the last one that will ever exist in pink.
Oh snap.
Oh yeah.
Oh snap. Oh snap.
Yeah, so those are available at spruceeffects.com. If you're yeah.
Yeah, it's down to the last one.
Use
Shoot.
code
It's the final
It's the
countdown.
final Mount Hood. Um, use the code. Use Use the code GETOFFSET to save some money on it.
Yeah, we're giving away basically at the rate we're trying to sell for is like what
Yeah,
$1.99 shipped.
yeah.
Well,
Just to thank the people. Actually, you know what? If it doesn't sell by Friday, I'm going to remove that discount code. Shots fired.
stakes have been risen. Stakes have been
Raised.
raised. That's the word
He
I'm
has
looking for.
risen. Stakes are raised.
The stakes have risen indeed.
Oh, okay. Enough of that.
That's a church joke.
I don't know anything about it.
Oh, that's a thing for Easter is you
I
say
know.
he is risen because Easter is all about like the
Right.
resurrection of Christ, and then you respond with he is risen indeed.
Oh, okay.
So that's a thing, especially like more conservative evangelicals. That's just like a totally normal thing. Like around the Easter season, you say he is risen. You say he is risen indeed, and that's just like that's the end of the conversation. You just like keep walking past each other.
That's like under his eye, may the Lord open. That's creeps me out a little. Sorry.
Well, I think it's got a long and glorious tradition. I'm a fan of it personally.
Under his eye. You don't get it. You didn't watch The Handmaid's Tale. Nor did you read it.
I did not, no. I definitely did, although I'm pretty sure I took a test on it. I think I just did the whole like, I'm going to read the Cliff Notes real fast, and then of course it's high school, so you get 100%.
Well, that was not my high school experience, but cool. My teachers would read the Cliff's Notes and all of the things that were like that, and they would specifically ask questions that you wouldn't know if you just read the Cliff's Notes.
My senior year, the teacher wasn't a fan of sending homework home, so half the classes we did was we would assign characters for like a Shakespeare play to different people in the class, and then we just read through it together as a class with assigned parts, which I thought was great. But looking back, I'm like, that's a brilliant way to not do work as a teacher.
No, and same with reading aloud.
Like I could sit here and teach about Shakespeare, or I could just like let all of my students do the work for me while I sit here and sip on a Red Bull.
You kind of have to hear Shakespeare out loud, or it's unbearable.
Oh, I absolutely agree. Well, no, I don't agree with that. I disagree with that. Shakespeare is brilliant.
When you're reading it to yourself, unbearable. I stand by it.
On a related note, one of my favorite theatrical productions is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. It's hard to explain, but it's incredible. If anyone's read that, please like hit me up on the Instagram.
Is that a Waiting for Godot thing? What's that based off of?
Is it a what?
Yeah.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. It's off of the I can't remember which. I'm blanking on Shakespeare all of a sudden.
So topic.
What about the topic?
What is the topic? I've been in Nashville. I don't know what the topic is.
Okay. So going back to Tracy Morgan. Tracy Morgan said something that was regrettable. We'll go with that. Maybe not in line with either the times or just with human decency. Probably could have been left unsaid. Now, what do we do with that? Now that this is the golden question, do we throw him under the bus, his career's over, that is the end of him in comedy? Or do we say, okay, we get it, you screwed up, you apologize, and we move on from that with better jokes, better values, so on and so forth. Now that's Tracy Morgan. Completely different world, which I'm not quite as familiar with. I'm just a casual consumer of comedy specials on Netflix and YouTube. But in the guitar world, there are some well-documented examples of folks who have completely screwed up in varying levels of screwing upness. And what do we do with that? At what point do we say, like, okay, that's the end of, like, you're no longer welcome in the industry? Or do we say, okay, well, get yourself back together. Don't do that again. That wasn't super cool, but, like, don't do that again. And then,
I mean, I think the only way to answer that across the board is it really depends on what happened.
I believe we have just entered the Twilight Zone.
Why?
Oh, just
because I'm not taking a hard line.
Well, that's part of it. I think So in doing the what preparation I did do for this episode, I think we've encountered a gray area of sorts. And I think it's a gray area that challenges some of my personal held beliefs, and in the sense that, like, as with the religious beliefs that I hold, redemption is such a crucial center point for the religious beliefs that I hold, and that's something I really value. And
I'm glad you said redemption and not forgiveness.
oh, so many thoughts on that. And that's not even getting into sanctification. That's more of a theological thought. So I think redemption's a really key part of what I see in life, and the human condition, the reality that everybody screws up at some point. And I've been, thankfully, a recipient of forgiveness and followed up with redemption, so on and so forth, and certain dumb things I've done in my life. At the same time, this isn't our personal lives. This is business. And so, like, well, what do I do with that? I don't know. I'll pass it
I
to you.
just I mean, you just need examples. I mean, it kind of depends on what happened. Did someone make like a little snafu? Did someone say something they shouldn't have said? Did they come back and like sincerely seemed regretful and interested in making amends, and rehabilitating their image, or did they just keep coming back, or did they just like kind of wash their hands from it, disappear after doing something major, like I don't know, not paying their employees and stealing money from people? Like like
Yeah.
is that the example you were thinking of? Because that's kind of the big
That's
one
one
for
of the examples.
me.
I'm thinking that's. I think that one's a clear cut example of. Um, See, okay, so here's the thing with redemption. I'm gonna pull up the Merriam-Webster dictionary or dictionary.com or whatever.
Are you about to make a terrible wedding speech?
No, uh, I actually haven't ever given a speech at a wedding. I've actually never been in a wedding party.
Well, a lot of people start with, to quote the dictionary, the love is, or something like that.
Oh no, Christian weddings we do that with 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Love is patient, love is kind, so on and so forth.
Love is not patient.
Well, we'll agree to disagree with that on a fundamental level. Moving forward, so here's the redemption definition according to the Oxford Dictionary: it is the action of saving or being saved from sin, error, or evil. Option number 2 is the action of regaining or gaining possession of something in exchange for payment or clearing a debt. And so what we get is with
This
the
will seem super applicable to.
well, I think it is the heart of the definition of that. I think what we've got is basically a screw up. There's some sort of an error, a sin, whatever label you want to put on it. You've screwed up, to use the colloquial term. And then there's a follow up of you've regained possession of whatever that is. And I think part of that is you make up for it, you make amends for your mistake.
You redeem yourself. That's how I always hear that. But amends,
That would be a version of the word redemption.
corrections, yes.
You can't use the word or the root of the word to define the word itself. Come on now. This is basic etymology, Emily.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm just giving you a hard time. It's only fair after last week. So we've got that, and so what I'm seeing in that particular instance, and I'm just going to call out the particular instance we're talking about, is Gear Supply Company. Just it seems like such a blatant and obvious sore thumb in the community from the last few
And we
years.
want to say that all of the things are allegations, and there was never any legal battle surrounding these things, but we do have personal experiences that we can speak to.
In a hypothetical world, things happened. Even just in the customer facing world, we've got
Can I speak to this as a customer?
yes, you were a customer, I was not.
Basically, there were many instances where, products were ordered, not delivered, and they just ghosted us and as customers.
No
And this happened
refund.
to a lot of people, no refund. There was a lot of chitter chatter, like we don't know exactly what happened. But there were things that seemed suspicious. Like they had a Kickstarter for new pedals, and before they kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and finally they're like, okay, we're going to start shipping some pedals. Before that happened, they put them on sale on their website at a lower price than what the Kickstarter was. So obviously, I mean, it seemed to us that they were just trying to make some quick money, either to pay for the original run. Um, and ultimately, I got one out of the four things like I had ordered from them. And then they just kind of stopped answering emails. And there seemed to have been quite a few people who just were screwed. They didn't, they paid, some of them paid a lot of money for products that they didn't receive. And that's facts. So that's kind of the key example right now, because when this stuff was getting weird, there were a lot of people online saying we need to give grace. And a lot of people, I think he got a lot of extra patience because he was involved in this praise and worship community. And yeah, I have feelings about that, but to keep it on track, like if that's something that you do where your whole thing is you weren't even communicating about what was going wrong and you haven't made any obvious effort to um get make things right, hell no. Get the hell out of my industry. Get out, stay out, never again. Like you had so many opportunities to be real and say this is what's happening, this is what's going wrong. It's a failed Kickstarter. It happens, but instead
Right.
it was all that, and then there are some worse things from my understanding. Talking to people who were part of the company that I'm not going to name or explain their experiences because that's not my story to tell. Like it was way worse than that.
Allegedly, because nothing has been proven in any sort of legal sense.
No.
But
But you can look up them on Better Business Bureau and see what. Yeah.
yes, I'm not necessarily attempting to disagree with you here.
No,
I'm
no,
just
we agree. Like those things are alleged. Nothing in print court of law. Yada yada yada. I think it's established that
right.
I
Basically,
didn't.
don't
Yeah,
sue us.
basically it's established I didn't get like the products that I ordered, and I know other people didn't get the products that they ordered, and I know that the communication from that did not exist.
Right. And so I think that's where we fall to a distinction of, I mean, in order for redemption to happen, you've got to have follow up to that. And I think there's a big difference between someone who got in over their head and tried to cover their tracks in the process to try and like get back to a place where it wouldn't be a big deal, and a con man. And I'm not going to throw out full out accusations of whether or not anyone involved in that was a con man, but you know, there's a level of I don't there's no redemption to be had in that particular
Right.
scenario. Other scenarios, there's a couple other scenarios that I'd like to touch on
Yeah.
briefly.
Please.
Then I don't know full details in the fullest extent of things, so I'll go with a brief overview of my understanding of
Yeah.
what happened.
And
Um,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry, I'll talk about what I'm going to talk about later.
no, yeah. So there's been a couple of companies that have been caught red-handed rebadging.
I mean, a lot. I mean, a lot
One
of
of
companies
them,
rebadge, but they were saying that it was their intellectual property, right?
right. So there's a difference between rebadging for OEM, so original equipment manufacturing, uh, whereas another company agrees to make a product and then you put your name on it. And so this is what like your iPhone is OEM because like Apple didn't create that in an Apple factory, as
Well,
far as I'm aware. That's created by another factory and then
I
supplied
mean,
to Apple with their
yeah,
name brand on
yeah,
it.
sure. I mean, maybe.
I could be wrong about that, but if you
I
understand the
think it's
point I'm
more
trying to
like
make, so
t-shirts are branded. I think that might be a better example because you're not looming the t-shirt material by yourself. You're buying a t-shirt and you're putting your artwork on it, and then you're selling it as your product. But nobody thinks that like you're not saying that you made this t-shirt.
T-shirts or mini pedals. I mean, there's several things. There's a bunch of things in the guitar world that are considered
Like
quote
Donner
unquote
pedals
OEM, and
are an example of an OEM pedal, and that's
right,
not a
and
secret.
OEM, or the other term that gets thrown around is ODM. Some people talk about that, and there's a difference. I understand that that's at a critical business level, but for the sake of understanding the point here, is another company makes it and you put your brand name on it. Whether or not who does the designing is less of a concern here. The point is that's all perfectly legal. This is normal. We don't have a problem with that because especially since it's usually straightforward, clear
Yeah.
what's going on. no one's trying to pull the wool over anybody's. Like clearly, this is a made
Right.
in China product. So, um, now there's a difference between that and claiming that something isn't completely original, like you made it yourself. And this is something that we see with, say, like a boutique brand. So maybe let's say a boutique brand got in over their head. They blew it too fast. They couldn't keep up with the orders, and so maybe they start buying pedals from another company and putting their own name brand on it, and
Yeah.
then selling it off and just calling it good enough for the day. And I'm gonna pull the empathy card. I'm going to be honest, I think I see how you could get to that point because this industry is so up and down that if you were to find yourself unable to keep up with that, I could see where you would have that temptation to be like, well, we could do this for a few orders just to keep up. I don't want to like lose the ground we're getting business. We're
Well,
going to make up
that
for this
sounds more
later.
like ghost building. It's not like taking a completely different existing product, putting your name on it, and then making it seem like you're the one who created that product in the first place. Because that's yeah.
Right. No, no, it's not ghost building. This is like you bought something from a store at full retail
I
and
mean, you're
flipped
not.
it
Yeah.
with your name on it and saying it was quote
Yeah.
unquote boutique
No, I don't. I'm not cool with that.
with no.
I think that
Right, right. So
transparency is what's important there. I mean, if you're like, "Hey, I couldn't keep up," so no, but then I know people would. The reason you're not being transparent is because you know people wouldn't dig it.
right, right, and it's disingenuous. So my question is, if in an example like that, and I'm hesitant to mention company names because I only know what I've seen on the say, let's say, the gear
Because if
page.
you're gonna talk about that
Um,
law, that guy came out and made a statement about it, so I think that's fair game. Yeah.
did he? Oh, okay, I wasn't aware. I not aware of the full extent of the details. This is my general understanding. I'm kind of just using it as a template for a scenario, for the sake of a discussion. So I think that
Yeah.
company was Vertex, was it? And so the follow question is, at what point do we say, okay, we get it, you made a huge mistake. Now you got to make up for it, like make it up to your customers, and then maybe we
I
can move
mean
forward. And I don't know what that looks like though, whether or not it's in this industry or even just on a personal level. Like, where do we get into the
honestly, it's
sticks
just
with
like, are
that?
you doing something that makes it aware like, makes it clear that you understand that what you did wasn't great, and then, like, take actual action, like, that guy released a statement that he's sorry for what he did, that it was a bad idea, and, that's great, like, if as long as he's not doing it again, like, that's totally cool, like, people make mistakes, like, small mistakes like that, and to me, it's like, when it's happening time and time again and people start taking advantage of, like, your good graces or your forgiveness or your trustworthy like, your trustingness, like, that's when it becomes a problem to me because, like, um, that's when you're just taking advantage of other people's kindness.
Well, there's that point. I think we're running into the whole like, are we dealing with someone who's just trying constantly making mistakes, or are we dealing with a con man? I think that was the old phrase goes like, "Fool me once, shame on
Yeah,
you.
but,
Fool
like,
me
if you're
twice,
talking about
shame
someone
on
who just
me."
keeps making mistakes and making mistakes and making mistakes, maybe that person's just not a good business person. Maybe that person needs to either, like, hire someone who is a good business person to, like, prevent these things from happening, like, because if they're honest mistakes and they happen over and over and over again, like, at the same time, like, I don't want to be mad and judge you and, like, think you're a bad person, but I'm not gonna do business with you.
Right. Well, I don't know. I mean, this is where start to question like, well, okay, well, at what point do we get vindictive, and at what point do we like, okay, like you made a mistake, let's move on for this, and we can move forward, and you still make good products.
Well, I think that it really just does depend on that, like, is it honest mistakes or is it someone who is, just taking advantage of you. And I think that you know that after a point. Like, I think that you
Right. No one
do.
likes
And
feeling
and if
taken advantage of for sure.
exactly. So if someone's taking advantage of you, yeah, tell other people someone's taking advantage of you. Like make it like
Hey
make
man,
people
like
aware of it.
you keep eating my Funyuns, man. Like I don't appreciate that, bro.
Yeah. But
I had to break out the voice at
like
some point.
I know you did. You did. But, like, with Gear Supply, it was months and months of, missed deadlines and non-communication, and, like, for a while, you could be like, "Oh, it's just, there's hard times, he's having some personal issues, the builder's having some family issues." But then when nothing redemptive comes of that and it just gets worse, 'cause then, yeah, you know, make it public. and explain your reasoning and present your side of the story as factually as you can. Don't like be calling somebody a dick or something ruder than that. Uh just I think that it's sort of your responsibility to make sure that if you think someone's a con man, to approach that person first, explain your concerns, and if you don't feel like those are your concerns are being answered in a relevant way, like I think it's fair game to try to keep other people from, making the same mistakes that you made, which was obviously to do business with that
You
person.
want to know something really funny?
Yes.
You just like borderline, like in a pretty loose way, but close enough to where I could say it's in the ballpark of explaining. There's a passage in the Bible, not to get all churchy, but there's a passage in the Bible. It's I think Matthew 18, I think, where it's Jesus talking about like this is how you deal with conflict, and you think someone's screwing up, and it's you go to them first, and if they don't answer your questions well, then you go with someone else, and then you have a larger conversation. If still you don't have that, then you bring it before your community and make a bigger deal about it.
I mean,
Kind of
I've
like
read the
break that.
Bible, right?
Okay, well, I know. I just don't know how closely or how closely you practice that. I mean, I just
I
thought it
mean,
was
I also
interesting.
studied, so like that's a big thing in leadership in general, and I studied leadership in college. Like the whole idea of like being a servant leader is very much based on Jesus Christ. Like and like that's kind of the perfect example of it in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the thing. But like don't immediately go and like light up your tiki torches and or
Tiki
whatever.
torches. I'm sorry, they've been forever ruined. I feel so sorry for that company
I do too.
because it's just like I can't ever put tiki torches in my backyard ever again.
I mean,
I
yeah, you
can't.
can. You can. They're
I
not like
could. But then I with my luck, I find myself out there grilling with tiki torches going, wearing a white polo and a buzz cap. Like, wait a minute, how did this happen?
oh
Uh,
gosh. Yeah, so don't like grab your pitchforks right away. Try to work it out like privately at first. But really like if it gets bad, like that's what reviews on the internet are for. Like that's what the Better Business Bureau is for. That's what these communities are for. And like one part of what they're for, not the entirety of it. Like it's
right. Yeah. The flip side of all this, I'm certainly not a fan of like mudslinging.
yeah,
No, sir.
no. No, especially if it's just like, okay, maybe you had a bad experience, but if you're the kind of person who's had like a lot of bad experiences and most of your experiences are bad experiences, like that phrase, like if everyone's an asshole, maybe you're the asshole.
Like, come on, Karen. You've had to talk to how many managers today?
Yeah, because sometimes what you want is unreasonable. Like just anytime. Like
Right.
we've all been there. It just depends on how do we deal with it. Do we deal with like blaming the person for things that they can't control? Like, oh, I'm sorry, you wanted Curtis Lamberton to make you a pickup and have a 3-day turnaround. Well, he's got a 3-week wait list. Like, and he's upfront about it. Like, you can't like be
Right.
getting mad about that. And like,
Oh, Curtis is so great. He sets great, really great expectations. I like that.
and he will answer your questions and stuff. And like, I've gotten a couple sets of pickups from him. And yeah, I could have gone and bought something that was already made for like and with a 2-day shipping thing, but I didn't want to do that. So I want to support
Yeah,
a
that
small builder.
reminds me. I need to start budgeting out some money so I can get a set of grinders.
Yeah, you do.
I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, so that's the kind of thing where like if you go and start like bad mouthing someone without talking to them first, like that's not cool. But in like I
Right.
think that all this comes down to is I think that what you really want to talk about is something that has been in the news for various reasons, restorative justice. So can somebody come back from these
Ooh,
mistakes?
that's a good, that's a good term. I like that term.
Well, it's a whole idea, and the thing about restorative justice is like that the victim has to be a part of it. So, you can't go forgiving people on the behalf of other people. Like you can't. Like you can't say like it has to like the victims have to be a part of it.
I feel like that's one of those sentences like I hear that sentence said and then I question why that sentence has to be said out loud. Like, people, this is so
Like,
basic.
yeah, okay, if someone didn't wrong you, you don't get to forgive them, like, on behalf of
Right.
other people. Like, that's the truth. Like, you can't say, "Let's give this person a pass," because the people that were wronged by that person, like, they didn't get anything. They didn't get an apology, maybe, they didn't get anything any restitution. Like,
Yeah, it's cool that he gets a pass and all, but could I get like a refund or
yeah.
something? Like,
Like,
I
"Oh,
took my
cool. Yeah,
stapler and
I could
took my
you know
stapler.
what?
gonna burn down the building. You took my stapler.
Stapler, yeah.
Um,
Nice one. That's one of my red stapler. Uh, yeah, that dude was fired months ago. Um, but I think, like, Ryan Adams is an example of this, and we don't even have time to get into that, but, uh
Oh, bombshell, can of
I know,
worms.
like, he's trying to come back on the internet and stuff, but, then there were, like,
He
screenshots.
hasn't apologized.
He has, kind of. But
It
no,
wasn't. It
that's
did
why I
not
said
seem. It didn't cover the bases. It did
it
seem.
was
I'm sorry.
not.
I'm just.
No,
I'm
no,
throwing that out
I
there.
agree, it was not a good apology. I think that he thinks he
It
apologized, but at the same time, he didn't wanna admit that he did anything wrong.
that it reminded me of like a kindergarten. Like, I'm sorry, I punched you in the face at the playground.
Yeah, or like, "I'm sorry that you felt blah, 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 blah," and using you statements instead of
Oh yeah, there was definitely some like victim like, well, it's your
yeah,
fault
that
kind of
kinda
of it.
thing.
Anyways,
So, and then, like, there was these messages to his, like, manager or agent or something where he was like
I
yeah,
read
where he was like,
those.
I'm tired of all this, like, restitution crap, I just want my career back." I'm like, "Well, that's a step you have to take because truly what you did was predatory and gross and potentially illegal, and he let a lot of people down." Like, he really let like, I'm just a fan. Like, I'm just someone who listened to a lot of his music and bought a lot of his records, and again, one of the biggest influences in my guitar playing. Uh, I feel I feel
Right.
like not nearly the same level, but I think I'm a victim too. I think all of his fans are victims because we, knew he wasn't a great person. We knew he was a little prima donna kind of thing. We didn't know that he was a predator.
Yeah, Emily, it's all your fault you didn't realize these things.
And as
Like,
soon as they did,
geez,
all the records come off the shelves, all the stuff goes into a bin. I turned one of my Ryan Adams hoodies into a Phoebe Bridgers hoodie.
that's a that's a great move.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of that one. I can't wait for it to get
um,
cold enough for me to wear it.
it's been so hot here. It's
It's gonna
ridiculous.
be high of 60 tomorrow.
Oh my goodness.
It was also 90 degrees in Nashville, so I would like you to not say that it was hot here. And stop
Well,
clicking whatever that clicking thing you're clicking is.
oh sorry, I'm playing with a pen.
Don't do
We're
it.
gonna put that back.
Yeah.
Anyways, so yeah, there's definitely it's definitely a case by case basis, and I admit that I'm very biased in what that looks like based on the beliefs that I hold and how what I base my life off of and all of that. And there's certainly levels of that. I think there's outside of that though. I think there's some basic common ground that I hope we can all find on decency and what it looks like to for restitution for redemption and what that all looks like in the community. And I don't have any
Right.
clear answers on what that looks like. I think what I do think is we've in an unplanned fashion gone through some guidelines on what I think that looks like and how to discern from experience to experience.
Yeah. And like the whole idea of like breaking something off with another, like maybe you stop supporting a company because you think they're bad people versus maybe you think because they're not great business people. And I think that both of those are valid. Like, I don't think you should feel bad about not giving someone your money.
Well, I don't think you should ever feel bad about not giving someone your money, but
Unless it's us in our Patreon. I'm kidding.
all right. Well, I wasn't gonna go
I'm
there.
sorry. I'm just kidding. If you do like us and want to support us, however, we do have a Patreon. When we get to 25 monthly dollars, that basically covers the cost of one of the services, which is one of the services that we use to bring you this podcast every month, and you'll get some cool perks. And when we get to 25
Yeah.
bucks, we'll do a special episode where we actually interview our patrons.
Heck yeah.
That'd be really fun.
And
The lowest level
for
is
a hundred,
is $1 a month, I think.
yeah, it's like 1, 5, 10, 25, something like
Yeah.
that. It's like poker chips.
Yeah.
And for $100 a month, you get a sermon from Andrew promising that if you just spend a little bit more money on Jesus and the Bible, that will turn your life around and erase all of your debt.
Dude, for 25 bucks, I'll write them a song.
Oh shoot!
Yeah.
And just so we're clear, I'm making fun of prosperity gospel preachers.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
I get it. Televangelists.
Speaking of predatory behavior,
Oh. Ah.
yep.
Yep. Yeah, so I think we've wrapped this one up. Gonna go a little bit easy on
Well,
y'all.
okay.
Oh, no, no, you got more?
Well, I do need to go to sleep soon, but I have a joke.
It's not from that dad joke book, is it?
No, it's worse. It's from my head.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Like,
Those were pretty bad.
so, did you hear about the rodent that everybody thought was framed for the crime?
No.
Well, it turns out he wasn't framed for the crime at all. He actually did it of his own volition. Volition. A vole is a small
Oh,
rodent.
good lord. Who knows that?
I don't know. I knew that. I don't know why I know that, but it's a small ground dwelling
Dude, there was
rodent.
something else like this weekend where someone asked a question. I'm like, oh, blah, 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 blah," and I like gave the answer. I'm like, why do I know that? Oh, it was like about Judaism. Like, why do I know this anything about Judaism? I don't know. Probably because I watched Weeds. I don't know.
I,
On that note, yes, we also have our new For Fuzz's Sake lineup on the website.
oh yeah,
The
I
shirts
did
are pretty
that.
cool.
I
It
designed a
looks really
thing.
nice. I think I wore mine the other day. My shirt.
I haven't had it. I actually think I washed it, and now I can't remember if. I don't think it ended up in my laundry pile. It must have ended up in like someone else's laundry pile. I need to
Mm-hmm.
go track that down because I want
Yes.
to
All
wear it.
right. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for understanding. Until next time, I'm Emily.
I'm Andrew.
Goodbye.
Bye.